Hello and welcome, P.F. Chang's employees. Today we will be conducting an experiment on how to increase our sound of service. The sound of service that we will be referring to is the method of using proper dialogue and language with our guests. In other words, check your street language and attitudes outside of the restaurant. And with us today to give some help is our good friend John. Hi, John. John is a newly hired employee at the best restaurant in any town. And which is that one again? Very good, John. John is glad to take time out of his busy schedule to help us today, aren't you, John? Well, John, we will need you to show us about the P.F. Chang sound of service. You think you can do that, John? Okay, John, let's start with answering the phone. Tough break, John. The guest could not hear you, and that is why they hung up. One thing to learn is to never rush your words when answering a P.F. Chang's telephone. Can we bring in some extra help to show you, John?
Hello, thank you for calling P.F. Chang Shannon Bistro. How may I help you? Of course, we'd love to reserve a table for you anytime tonight.
You see how much better that was, John? Well, John, let's move on to showing us how to seat our lovely guests. Can you do that? No, John. That's not how we do it here at all. That will never make for happy guests. You have to make our guests feel wanted and appreciated, John. I bet you an experienced P.F. Chang's employee would know how to handle this important situation.
Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to P.F. Chang's. May I show you to your table? Right this way, please. How is this table for you here? Great. Here are your menus. And I'm pretty sure you'll need some silverware. Okay, Brian will be your server. Do you have any questions or anything else I can get for you at this time?
No, thank you so much.
Great. Enjoy your lunch.
Pretty impressive. Can you see how big of a difference that was? Okay, well, here we go, John. Go on ahead and greet that table with a warm welcome and take their order. John, they're not finished. I'm sorry, John. Perhaps we have not given you enough information on exactly what the P.F. Chang sound of service is. Okay, we are going to help you with two very special representatives who will be able to tell you all about the sound of service.
I'm Brian Miller, server at P.F. Chang's. Not too long ago, I started implementing the sound of service into my work habits. Since then, I've really noticed a significant improvement in the quality of service that I give my guests, and I can tell that they appreciate it as well.
And my name is Jake Beckler. I'm a frequent guest here at P.F. Chang's, and as I travel for business, I try to experience P.F. Chang's everywhere I go. Now, I've seen great, mediocre, and poor service at lots of different restaurants, And I gotta tell you, this new system that's coming out, called the Sound of Service, is gonna equip you with the tools you need to give us, the consumer, the best possible experience we can here at the restaurant.
It's important for every employee here to know that leaving their casual mannerisms and sloppy dress at home and trading it in for a more professional attitude creates this optimal dining experience that P.F. Chang strives to offer to every guest.
That's a really good point. First appearances are everything. Now, there's nothing that throws me off more than when a young man approaches the table with funky hairstyle, sloppy clothing, or whatever, and then says, "Hey, what's up, man? What do you want?" It just doesn't go over well at all.
It's amazing how trading in a simple phrase like, "You got it," for "certainly," allows the guest to have more confidence in you as their server.
I know one thing that's totally obvious is when a server doesn't have time or acts impatient. They rush through all their words and make it impossible for me to understand them. And also, I never feel that confident in a server who has attitude.
From the moment we clock in, we need to have a good attitude. It's this good attitude that helps contribute to this energetic atmosphere of the restaurant as a whole.
There really is a huge difference in the service. Someone who's been treating me kindly and is trying hard is going to be easily forgiven when they've made a mistake, because I know that their attitude is in the right place.
Right. This is the essence of the Sound of Service.
Exactly. You really want to make the customer feel like a person, because it always shows when you don't. I can't tell you how many times I've heard a hostess say, "Where can we put this guy?" Or seen a server walk up and say, "What do you want?" In that voice, it sounds like they've said it 100 times before.
Sometimes a guest will come in being very rude to the hostess or to the server, to one of our employees. Unfortunately, we don't know the whole story. The guest could be having a very bad day. But the last thing that they need is one of our employees giving them bad service in retaliation to that.
I honestly see this a lot in restaurants. A guest will come in and be demeaning to the server, and then they get a bad attitude or they just stop showing attention to them at all. And this never goes off well. It only ends up infuriating the guest even more.
Well, one last point. We need to watch what we say and where we say it. Sometimes we as servers or employees think that just because we're behind a side station, behind the line, that all of a sudden we've entered a soundproof booth. Obviously, this isn't the case. You'd be surprised how often a guest will become offended by something that they overheard an employee saying, or become disappointed by seeing employees goofing off or acting unprofessional. Sometimes they just lose confidence in us as their server because we're playing two-face.
Speaking for customers, it really is frustrating when we see a server standing at a side station talking to another server, especially when we need something.
Great insight, Jake. Just remember to replace those more casual words with more professional words. By adopting this P.F. Chang Sound of Service, both the guests and employees will have a much more enjoyable dining experience.
You see, John, it's not that hard at all. Once you learn to implement the ideas Jake and Brian gave you, you simply need to try your hardest to treat guests with proper respect. And we do this with proper language and proper manners. Okay, John, you ready to give it a try? John? 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 I guess you have learned now, John, what it takes to give our guests the P.F. Chang Sound of Service. And there it is. We hope that everyone can learn, like John, that we must treat guests with excellent service so that they can have the optimal dining experience. Goodbye, John.